Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sara Nachama, and I'm the Rector and Vice President of Touro College. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend tonight's event, but I am with you with all my heart. 110 years have passed since International Women's Day was marked for the first time on March 8th by over 1 million people in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. In 2019, the Berlin Senate officially sanctioned Frauentag, which means Women's Day in German, as a public holiday. International Women's Day is now a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating gender parity. Significant activity is witnessed worldwide as groups come together to celebrate women's achievements or rally for women's equality. Though it seems like 110 years is a long time, in 2021 it is still not very common to find large amount of women in leading positions in business or corporate world, and people still wonder whether women in high positions have rightly achieved them regardless of their talent and aptitude. Since the Touro College Berlin was founded in 2003, we can mark 55% female students who have graduated from all the programs we are offering, which of course means only 45% of male students. I personally take a great pride in it, since it proves our values as part of the global Touro University system of equality and tolerance, and paints a better future to the fields of business, psychology, and history research. For International Women's Day, Touro College Berlin is delighted to host an event that is all about successful women and the path they chose for themselves. Professor Dr. Anna Klippstein, a professor of finance at Touro College, is the moderator tonight and will present the panel members. Please welcome Professor Dr. Anna Klippstein, and thank you and enjoy the discussion.
Hello, good evening. It's my pleasure and my privilege to greet all of you from Touro College Berlin campus am Ruppenhorn, das ist Charlottenburg in Berlin. You see behind me our room for lectures. Unfortunately, last month the room stayed empty because of the restrictions of the pandemic, but we do hope that this will be filled up with the life with our students very soon. So today, Touro College Berlin, which has two business programs, Bachelor of Science in Business Management and Administration, and a Master Business of Administration program, hosts the event Women and Business. And I'm very happy to introduce all of us to our panelists. I also would like to welcome to today's event our students, our professors, our graduates, the members of the Diplomatic Club Willkommen in Berlin, the members of the Bundesverband Mittelständische Wirtschaft, and all other guests and participants which joined to us not only from Berlin and not only from Germany, but from different countries, from Canada, from the United States, from Russia, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and South Africa. So warm welcome to everyone. So before we start, I also would like to thank the PR manager of Touro College Berlin, Ms. Tal Gibisch, for setting up this event for us. Thank you, Tal. It's great that you did this work. And how we will proceed? First, we will have a short introduction of the panelists, and then we will open the discussion with your questions and comments. So please use the chat function or questionnaire function of this platform, this webinar platform, to write your questions. Unfortunately, due to the size of the event, we can only receive your questions in writing, and then we will try to announce as many questions as it will be possible in a given time frame. So our panelists, they represent very different industries, very different businesses, and very different success stories. But what's the similar with all our panelists today, they are very talented, they are very successful women, but they are not only involved in business, they also have families and they also have kids. And this is the everyday, let's say, equilibration with the challenges of the business, with the challenges of the success, with the challenges of the career, and with the requirements of taking care about the families. This will be today in our focus. Our first panelist is Nicole Stanley. She is the founder and CEO of Dan Perman Group, of Dan Perman Company. And I know Nicole since many years, and I'm very happy to know her. She supports Touro College with, since years with the Deutschland Stipendium for our students. Nicole was our keynote speaker for the Touro graduates in the year 2016. Dan Perman provides our students with internship, and successful graduates have a possibility, have a chance to start their careers with your company, Nicole. And I must say, you're so amazing. Each time I come to your company with my students, and it's usually once in a semester, so each second semester, then I see completely different company. I don't know how we do it. And each time we speak with each other, then I learn about the new ideas, new projects, new companies, about new things what you are doing. And what is special about you, that you are the one who really designed our city, Berlin. Many years ago, you started the movement Create Berlin, and currently you're very much involved in a project of reshaping and refurbishing of the inner city of Berlin. So now I'm very happy to pass the word to you. So the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to bring us all together and to talk about female empowerment. As you asked me, I just prepared some few slides because it's already or very often very difficult to imagine what we're doing. So I'm just opening my presentation and go to full screen now. I hope this worked out. So yeah, we are the Employment Group, and we've been established 1999, so we're around for quite a bit. We are a network of creative companies that I all co-founded, and we combine creativity and strategy into a very unique approach. We're based in Berlin. As I said, we're 5 companies. We are roughly about 130 people on our campus, and we now have a lot of kids over all those years. We have 5 dogs on campus, but most important, we are one group with loads of different people coming from different nations and disciplines. What we do is mostly we solve complex problems for our clients, and we do that for like loads of different industries like Google and also the Zoo in Berlin, Mercedes, and so on. So, but what we're mostly interested in, and this is something that really drives me, is the question of how do we want to live in the future? And that we split up in 2 parts, which is one, the new work part, and everybody now after Corona has to think about new work and how we want to structure our work life, and also the new leisure part, which is my profession and where I'm really interested in, is how retail will change in the future, and also how retail will shape our city centers and also our cities. We, as Anna mentioned, we are Berlinists. We work globally. We have projects all over the world, but mostly I just have pictures from Berlin. And so we do very small, petite projects like Mein Hoffi von Getränke Hoffmann, but also huge projects. This is another one in Berlin. Or I was able and this was a huge challenge, bringing everything together, being creative director of Bikini Berlin for 2 years, which is a shopping mall complex right in the city center of Berlin. Now I'm just working on the other side of Bikini Berlin, which is the Areal Kurfürstendamm. And as Anna said, we are redefining this part of the city center, how it will develop in the next couple of years. And this is an installation I did in Bikini Berlin. Beautiful artist, Rebecca Louise Law. Also, when we did a good job, we get a lot of PR, which is Gloop, the Gwyneth Paltrow blog, and she said, they said Berlin might have opened the coolest mall ever. So we're really focused on creating destinations, bringing people into this process, being participatory, and from there we kind of do ideations and bring the ideas. This is the whole Kurfürstendamm area, and activate areas. But we also, and this is a part my husband is doing in our group, and we co-founded the company Erlebnisarchitektur, Erlebnisse. He did the Panda Garden that was actually opened with Angela Merkel and the Chinese minister, and also pandas. And when you've ever been to Berlin, you've seen our campaign done with walls. This is the Berlin campaign that was running for a couple of years, or the museum that we just opened a few years ago. But we also have a company that is just purely focused on cross visual and cross media presentation. And we really are deep into research of how cross media works in our field. But what we really do is we have a lot of events to bring people together, to activate kids, to really give them a voice at Damperman. We are also the mother of democratic designs. For the last 20 years, we're developing objects. We publish them in Home magazine, and you can't buy them. You can only build them yourself. And we have a material archive with 15,000 materials to really give identity to our projects, and also an own academy format where we just have educational programs for our employees and also for our clients and for the open public. And we really that's something that really drives me, is the gender equality and also LGBT aspect, the diversity aspect of our culture, because I'm really, really convinced that diversity brings much better results, is more democratic, and really gives more energy to every process. So that's why we've won the Family Award of Berlin in 2010. And my kids are really small, they're still, I have 3 kids, by the way. And we also won the Diversity Award of Prouder just last year. So this is the empowerment in a nutshell. And thank you so much for listening to me. And thank you, Anna, for having me here again.
Thank you, Nicole. Just a short question. You mentioned 2 very important awards about diversity and the family-friendly company. But what I learned from you or about you, that in the last 20 years, you lead this company. You have won 75 awards. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. So how important is the business success for female leaders? Or would you do a difference between female and male leaders? Because your husband is also within the company. He's also leader. So how you would differentiate it?
Well, I think being an entrepreneur, success is very, very important. I think it doesn't really matter whether you're male or female, because first of all, the company drives on success, and the more successful we are, the more awards we get, the more attractive we are for employees and for customers. And so, yeah, this is something that really drives us, and it's good. It's very rewarding if when the world recognizes our designs and our projects. So.
So from your own experience, you would say it's not only the males are driven by the success and this idea of the success, but also the female leaders. They also need the success to, to perform better.
Yeah, I mean, let's, for example, this award business, it's like a game, and it just is. The minute you're entering the creative industries, that's part of our game, is winning awards. And so better embrace the rules of the game and be sporty about it than just say I don't want competition, because then it's always a fair game that we're playing and in this field. And so no, I really love it. And I think for women it's equally good to like the game. And I mean, if we wouldn't do that, there wouldn't be high performance sports for women, because that is like the competition.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. So to be successful, we women should be also competitive, and we should do not hesitate to enter the competition. Thank you so much. Now I would like to introduce our second panelist. This is Dr. Christina Eishil, and she is working and performing in a very competitive industry as well. So Christina studied philosophy, German philology and music sciences in the University of Hamburg, and she has a PhD in the philosophy. She used to work for different German TV stations, organizing talk shows and documentaries. Several years ago, she joined a very influential political magazine in Germany, Cicero, as the head of the cultural affairs. And I can imagine it was a very competitive environment for you. Christina is also a writer, author. Since 1998, she writes different books, and her recent book about Beethoven. We have a Beethoven year, and this book turns to be bestseller. And I would like to start with the question to you, Christina. What do you think if the male author will write the book? Would it be different?
Well, this is an interesting question, because I guess when you think of books, you don't think of men or women. But when I'm doing research or writing, I never think of a special gender approach. This may change when a book is published. People are still interested in the question whether a book is written by a man or a woman. But just imagine yourself reading a book. Do you give credits because of gender matters? I think no. You decide to read it when you are caught by the way it's written, and you appreciate if it's bringing something new. You are happy if you feel entertained while being informed. Concerning my Beethoven book, I decided to dig deep. I spent 4 years researching, analyzing historical sources like letters, diaries, and anecdotes written by contemporaries. This was a little bit like profiling. I had to put together a 1,000-piece puzzle to see the bigger picture. And the picture turned out to be quite different from what we used to see and to think about Beethoven. And the readers acknowledge my research success, but my work is not pointing out female perspectives, but being straightly individual. And that's why I don't see my business life so much in competing. I want to be really outstanding in being irreplaceable in a way.
Thank you for that. And I know that your book has a very deep philosophical, but also psychological insight. And at the Touro College, we also have a faculty for psychology. And I would like to draw the attention of our students in this field. So I think this book could be highly interesting. I have another question for you. You have experience working on the different TV stations and printed media. Is it difficult as a female to succeed? Did you experience a kind of a different approach to you from your colleagues in comparison to your male colleagues?
I guess struggling to be taken seriously is one of the challenges for women in business. This is an important thing. As long as I worked as a freelancer, I didn't have any problem. People acknowledged me. But as soon as I took over a responsible position, things changed. And there were two things. First, I felt it's about hierarchic things and systems dominated by men. Second, I felt I had to justify my position. And to overcome this, I had to learn to build my confidence and overcome my negative self-talk. I think being too critical with yourself is something very toxic in women's life.
That's I would agree, and I think we will debate this question more in depth after the introduction. Our third panelist is Lana Muller, and if you think about Berlin in terms of the fashion and the local fashion label in Berlin, then you come to the name of Lana Muller. She was born in Kazakhstan, and she grew up in Germany and studied fashion in Berlin. Then she moved to New York to start her career in the big world of fashion with Zac Posen. And after she came back to Berlin in 2016, she started her own label. And you can imagine how competitive this branch is. Fashion industry is one of the most competitive ones. Lana succeeds, and she built up her name, her label, successful collections, and she also survived the last very difficult year with the pandemic, with all shops closed, and also with the necessity to present the new collection digitally online. So Lana, my first question to you, how do you cope with these two main requirements of today's life, with the digitalization in the fashion industry and with the sustainability?
So, hey, Anna.
Yes, can you hear me? So the stage
now
is yours.
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay,
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes, definitely. So my first question to you is, how do you cope with these difficulties, with these challenges of digitalization to show in your collections only online, and also with the requirements of sustainability in fashion?
Yeah, it was a totally different, totally different story. That was my 13th collection already, and the first digital, of course, and was very, very, I can say, like in a totally different world. It was at the Kraftwerk in Berlin, and normally you can get around 1,000 guests in the Kraftwerk, and I'm stood alone with my models. So it was very, very hard, but the Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, the nowadays, the group, they built the setting, so they had they made a very, very good job. So I was not alone, thanks for Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week and for nowadays, and of course for my management for making this show happen. It was very difficult.
Okay. And Lana, tell us, how did you set up your own label?
I set up my own label after I came back from New York. I started. I started with. I had some clients, from Berlin. My first clients are from Berlin. They order from me red carpet evening dresses, and because they like the dresses fits well, they talk about me. They talk about Lana Muller, and after 3 months, I opened my first store in the Pariser Straße in Charlottenburg, and 2 years later, I opened a big showroom. So it was a very, very fast road, I can say, and very successful. I had good teams, I had good employers. It was a difficult, hard time. So I have my family, my daughter, and she grew almost with me. She grew up in the atelier. So after the kindergarten, she came to the showroom, to the atelier. It was a very, very tough time, the first 2 years. And then I got a little bit routine, and it went fine.
I know that 4 years ago you had the first tremendous success when your ready-to-wear collection became so popular, and then you told that yeah, I'm asking to turn on the video, and you told that it was a kind of a challenging to cope with this growth, with this quick growth.
Yes, it was exactly. It was the first big success. So I got an order from Moda Operandi. It's one of the biggest and good online shops in the US, and that's still my big clients. So they order around 400 dresses, and I had not the team for, and I didn't set up the production. So I wasn't prepared for this big order, and we had only 3 months time to deliver to US, and it was for me the biggest in German Herausforderung, the biggest the biggest challenge before Corona, of course, and we did it. So I can tell that was the first challenge in the big.
You did it, and for us to take, especially for our students, to keep in our minds, okay, success is good. To be competitive is also good. To win the competition is important, but then the real challenge will come. If you get popular, how to grow, how to finance the growth, how to gather together the resources, how to organize this growth. This is, I think, also Nicole can add on to it, because your company also experienced quick growth.
Yeah, I mean, growth is as beautiful as it is. It just comes with a lot of problems, because first of all, you don't have the cash to finance bringing new people in. You have to have new structures, and the minute you have more than 30, 40 people and a certain turnover, you need a middle management structure. So all of a sudden this becomes a huge headache, and nobody prepares you when you set up your company that you're challenging a lot of infrastructural problems, and not the problems you normally have, like making clients happy or delivering wonderful products. And yeah, that is definitely one of the biggest challenges of new companies, or like every company that grows. It doesn't necessarily means that it needs to be freshly founded company.
Okay, thank you. So I think now we can open the discussion, because I see on the screen that we're receiving more and more questions, and maybe I will start with a very general question. Does female leadership exist in your particular fields? Female leadership in the fashion, in the creative industry, in the media. So
I can start with the creative industry. I mean, normally you think creative industry would be pretty open-minded and pretty, because we create those amazing projects and stuff. But if you really look at it, it just is not very feminine or female driven, and has very old structures. I mean, especially in the fashion industry, if you just see how many people are studying, how many women study fashion at university, and then how many fashion designers are top world known, then there is a huge disbalance. And it is in the creative industry, in the creative field, the similar. Interestingly enough, creativity is evenly distributed. So there is no gap between male and female in creativity, but still I think we still have a long way to go, and there are not so many female founders in the creative industry and around the established networks. So, but Lana, what's your point of view?
Yeah, I see the same like you. In the fashion industry. It was 10 years ago, and I started to study fashion design when I was 20 years old, so 15 years ago. And in Berlin at the fashion school ESMOD, we had male students. But like when I was in New York, or I work here in Berlin, in Germany, the most of the designers they were male. So it's in fashion. It's I mean, we are good, fine together, male and female, but there are more male designers, male in the fashion industry. Yeah.
By the way, I have to mention, if I listen to Lana and look at her, it's the dress she's wearing tonight. It's the dress she designed. Yeah, and I love this model. Christina, did you ever feel you had sort of male attitudes to be successful?
I think most women find themselves in a male-dominated field when they work in print media and even in publishing companies. Women have made great strides in this world, but still face problems with their male counterparts don't. According to recent studies, women are underrepresented in higher levels concerning media. For example, in Germany, we got 108 newspapers with 108 editors-in-chief. Amongst them, we see 8 women. This means 7.4%. Yeah, hard to believe. But nearly 50% of the editors and writers are female. So this shows a giant gap. Regarding publishing houses, leading positions are 40% female. On the other hand, we can see the results of traditions. For example, editors of children's books are 90% female. I think this can be changed if young women stop unintentionally downplaying their worth. I mean, no one goes into business with a guarantee of success, but fear of the unknown and feeling insecure are major issues for many women. They dread failing, especially if the people surrounding them are mostly male.
Okay. The question to everyone, do you think for the female, is it more difficult to deal with the failures and mistakes? What do you think?
Excuse me, I didn't get the
question. Do you think, the question to our panelists, do you think that for the female leaders, is it more difficult to deal with the failures and mistakes?
No, I don't think so. It is just, it always depends on the culture of the company. So for example, here at home, we already tell our kids it's good to make mistakes, because they're so driven and they always want to make everything perfect. And so I always tell them, and I always tell in my company, perfect is the enemy of good. Why should we be perfect? Because perfect is something that is never achievable in our world, because our world is so fastly paced, and a perfect result too late is a wrong result, because then it has no value anymore. But if somebody has an okay solution, but at the right time. So we have to embrace that we need to have a culture that accepts failure. And so I think for a woman, it's actually for a woman, it's easier to deal with mistakes and to accept mistakes. I mean, it just doesn't boil solemnly down to having kids, but if we drive our kids into a failureless culture, we for sure would kill them. And if I would do the same with my company, I would kill the company with my perfectionism. And so I think I could imagine that for men, it's much more difficult to accept failures. But in our nowadays society, it's about pace, it's about innovation, it's about trying things out and living the moment. It's just not is avoiding mistakes. So I think it's not so much a gender thing, like a culture thing.
Yeah, but I agree with Nicole in a way that in any business, failure is a real possibility, we know, but I guess women take it more serious. As you say, mistakes shouldn't be taken as a negative aspect on our way to success. Don't let mistakes keep you from relinquishing your goals. But women often feel like they have to be perfect at any time. And I say, don't wait for perfection, consider failures as teaching moments.
Mhm.
In my in the fashion industry, I think it doesn't matter. It's as a designer, if you don't make good collections, even you're a man or woman, so after 2, 3 not that good collections, you have to go. So you have to leave. It's independent of your how good the collections are. So I saw many designers who was in a crisis, was not in good mood, and they did the second collection, and they had to go. Otherwise the company wouldn't be good in sale.
In Germany, we have a quota for female participation in businesses, and actually it's very little step in the beginning of introducing the female leadership. Christina mentioned how a little number of editor-in-chief do we have in the media landscape in Germany, and the quota which was introduced in Germany was about the participation in the supervisory boards, not in the board of management, not in other important management positions, but just in the supervisory boards. And still this little beginning is very hardly debated still in Germany. And my question to you, what do you think? What matters more, gender or skills? Because the argument also for women against the quota is, well, we are talented, we can do it, why do we need quota? What do you think?
Well, I think we have to have this, as you said, quota, because the tradition is that we do not have, first of all, strong female role models. Like if we just open the news, we see all those male founders, and that's, if we talk about viruses, it is like the whole world is male. And so how can we encourage young women to step up and just try themselves out if there are no women as role models around? So first of all, that's that. And secondly, if you hire, companies always tend to hire themselves. So it's if they're just male, that feels completely normal. And then why should you leave normality and go into a wild venture of employing somebody who's completely different than you are? We have to train our diversity brain parts so we actually can work with people of other color, of other genders, even of different ages. So we really have to make sure that we have a diverse structure in our companies. Otherwise, we'll tend to create the same results over and over and over again, because it's the same kind of brains we employ and they have the same structures, so they come up with the same solutions all the time. And we see our world is just completely changing. COVID is just like an accelerator of all the processes we already had on this planet. And all of a sudden, all the old tools are not working anymore. So why should we reproduce the old patterns? We need diversity. It's just not all about being male or female. We need diversity, cultural diversity, gender diversity, age diversity. Like, we work with kids in order to get better ideas. Why is not the UN working with kids? I'm asking myself. So, but Christina, what do you think?
Yeah, companies benefit from a diverse and inclusive work environment, as you said, from gender diversity to culture, age, race, whatever background, especially men and women will have different experiences and backgrounds which shape their approach to business. Challenging each other and collaborating with people who think differently can breed creativity, but I think even with the best intentions, we have a tendency to gravitate towards people who are like us. It takes a real leader to say, I need someone to challenge me. That challenge can spawn new creativity, innovation, that's true, but it's hard to do. So what does that mean for women? It's important to find a balance between accepting rules and habits and daring to be different and outstanding.
Right. Lana, what do you think?
I think the same too, like Nicole say diversity, and I see it in the fashion industry. I had I mean to get interns from all over the world and to get them in our team, and I always felt like you get new input. So it's very, very important to change with another to change with another culture, to go different roads, to listen to ideas from people even you maybe don't really like them, you are not fine with, as you don't want to work with this kind of maybe not how can I say, so it's good to be open-hearted, and that's
So I would summarize, to be successful as an entrepreneur, you have to be open, you have to be adaptive, and you have to train diversity. You have to step out of your comfort zone and try new things. Right. Okay, here we have a question of our MBA student, Trevor. He asked, do you believe that the current environment of work will be benefit to women or a hindrance? So if the current environment of work beneficial for women or not?
Not very easy to answer. I think I think it is it really boils down to the culture of the company, and there are big corporate cultures that we work with, and they really pushing the diversity, and they really pushing the equality part, and I think that's the culture to go if they'll embrace also the subject of transformation towards a more sustainable culture, and that is a very healthy environment for women to work in and actually to explore their potential. But there are equally as many companies that are so rigid still in their culture, but I'm pretty sure that that is just a matter of time, because as I said, everything is changing so rapidly, and in a few years, everything that will set us apart in companies is creativity and the way how fast we can innovate. And therefore you need a very embracing culture in companies that are taking care of the planet, the people, and the profit. And if you don't have those ingredients, those companies will die unless they'll get substituted. So, and I think we have still a long way to go, but I think time will play towards those companies who are actually embracing diversity.
I think related to this question is another question. Do women bring more soft skills in the job? This is debated, in fact, but it was a question I was so curious of that I did some research, and I found a study published in 2016 by the global consulting firm Hay Group. And they found out that women outperform men in 11 of 12 key emotional intelligence competence. This included emotional self-awareness, empathy, conflict management, teamwork. So how do you see that? Because there's a big discussion going on. women the better human beings? I think not. But what about the soft skills?
Also, McKinsey did a study, actually series of study about the contribution of women in business, and what they specifically analyze is the mixed board and the proportion of women on board. And they discovered following: they thought, okay, if we have only one woman on the board, this woman do not have any impact on the environment, because she just will play according to the rule of this team, of this board. So if it's male dominated board, she will turn to the male habits. If it's two women on the boards, they will compete with each other, so they will struggle. Also, no positive impact, so it should be at least 3 women if the company would like to benefit from the soft skills, let's say, from a different psychological type and working attitudes of the women. And also McKinsey discovered on a very large scale study of different businesses that the mixed boards, where you have more or less 50-50 male and female, they have more than 50% effectiveness in comparison with the companies which are either dominated by females or dominated by males. So our target actually in the business should be to have a mixed boards. So that's why I think water could be really helpful to exercise diversity and to get more common to the new structures. And it's not about the talents of the women or males. So of course, if you are talented, you can break everything, all the barriers, and come to the success. It's about the system, and the system is beneficial for everyone. Now I have a question for Lana. Let me open this question. From Noah Fatal: as a fashion designer, do you feel like your job empowers female models?
I didn't get the question again.
As the fashion designer, do you feel like your job empowers female models?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. 100. So that's. I think so. Sorry, my English is very bad, I had to say. I just try to explain. Yeah, it is. Even it's 34 size model or a bit 36 model. So it's yeah. I think it's important to for the models to have.
Okay,
also.
thank you. Noah, continuing with the question: what advice would you give the women who are just starting their business careers? And that's, I think, the question to all of us. So what advice would you give to the women who start their careers?
In the fashion, or what, even just something?
Let's connect it with the fashion industry. Yes, I can assume it.
The tip, how she can start, right?
Yeah, let's connect this question with the fashion industry.
Can you repeat the question again?
The question is, what advice would you give to women who are just starting their business careers?
Yeah, I think to get her time to know what she exactly want to do, what she want to do, like evening gowns, or she want to just to do DOB, Haka. So she has to know what she wants to do, and I would recommend her to get, yeah, to. It's so good when it's would be in German. I can talk that much. So I advise long time I didn't speak. To think about what she wants to do, exactly what she do, to make a business plan, to talk with people who are in fashion industry. Even she has to be a good background behind her, because if you just alone, you have not people who around you, like family, good friends, and Berater. What is in German called? Berater, advisor. So good people who you really trust. Then she has to have her own people around her who
all environment and network, and now we are on a very important point, speaking about the network, or we can also call it social capital. We know that traditionally the males, they have a very strong networks. What is about female networks and how important they are?
Well, for me, it just is having networks is very important, because then it is much easier to come up with new ideas, new solutions, collaborate, and if you have a good, trustworthy network. But what I found out is that in the recent years, female network are actually really well developing. There is Panda Network. There is actually Anna and myself. We met on a female excellence network in Berlin, and
2010,
yeah, and it is actually, I can highly recommend for every female founder to actually go to female networks, business networks. I mean, cooking clubs is also probably interesting, but no, excellence business networks, because then you see that you meet a lot of other like-minded women, and that you're not the pink elephant in the room, because our reality is very often that we'll come into a room or a conference, or I'm a keynote speaker, I come into a conference room and it's 80% men. And even there are just 2 or even 1 woman on the panel list, and then that still is our reality. And so if you just go to one of those female excellent networks, you see you're not a pink elephant. It is normal to be intelligent, it's normal to be ambitious, it's normal to be very successful. And that makes you feel really good, because then you're not so strange if you're in a group of men, because it feels strange then sometimes. And for me, it was a completely warm, amazing feeling of being in a women's network, and everybody was chatting and connecting everybody. It was just such a different culture and different attitude, and also generosity of informations, of emotions, that I thought this is nourishing, that is really thriving, and yeah, fostering my ideas, and it's beneficial for my health, actually.
I also experienced this weird situation to be pink elephant in the room, because when I started in Frankfurt back in 2001 with the Swiss bank UBS, and I came from Russia, and in Russia, in a bank finance world is traditionally dominated by women. And in my past, it was a kind of a mixed teams, and we really benefit from that. And then I came to Frankfurt and was appointed to the UBS with 15 other people, because we opened the new bank in Frankfurt, and we were only 2 women, and the rest was the men. And they look at us, and I was also the youngest one from the entire group, and the only one with a title. So it was a very weird situation. It took really kind of 3 months to get common to this proportion. And also told to my team folks, it's for me also a new situation, because I experienced my past the mixed teams. Christina, what do you think about the female networking in your field?
I love female networking, and I think it has changed a lot the last years. Because when I arrived at Berlin 20 years ago, it was just everyone was gazing for someone who could help him. But now there's really synergy in it. And I love these kind of networks where you really are not so prospecting who is there, but what can we do together. So this is quite new, and I think there is a lot of women's power now, especially in Berlin.
Yeah, synergy is a very important keyword, and I also would support this idea that now we are not only looking for how we really collaborate with each other and we enrich each other. And I'm myself be very happy to be part of a huge mostly female network. It's the Diplomatic Club Willkommen in Berlin. Since 2005, I'm a member, an active member, and I must say we all benefit a lot of being together and helping each other. In this connection, I have a question from Veronica Harris. She is the young entrepreneur. She just started consulting company in the field of tourism and sport, and she asked, what advice would you give in obtaining my first project? Would you recommend forming an alliance with another consulting firm? It's also about synergy and collaboration. Nicole, what do you think? As the first project, make it sense to collaborate with another company to form alliance?
Definitely. I mean, it is always the first steps if you're a young entrepreneur are the weirdest and the hardest, because it is like you're in a dark room and all you have is a torchlight, and then you can just only highlight very certain aspects, and you do not have the big picture of how the ecosystem works, how everything is connected to each other. If you just have somebody at your side who has a brighter torch and can show you more, or even knows where the light switch is for your room, your business room, it is extremely elevating and really pushing your career. And especially if you partner up with somebody who's mentoring you, and so you'll just save yourself years and years of try and error if you learn with somebody who's already experienced in that field. So I'm a big fan of collaboration in every aspect.
Mm-hmm. I would agree that mentoring is extremely important. So that's why we try to establish a network among our graduates, a network of mentors that the graduates will help our current students with setting up their careers and businesses. Touro exists already over 15 years, so we collect quite a lot of success stories among our former students. So, and I would say mentoring is a very powerful thing. Christina, absolutely. You wanted to add something, right? Or
yeah, I thought about your question, what can we recommend young women when they are starting a career? I think it starts very early, because at first it's about defying social expectations. For example, choosing typical female jobs who are defined by helping or caring. Being true to yourself and finding your own voice is very important and keys to overcome preconceived expectations. I saw that when I was a visiting professor at the University of Arts here in Berlin for 3 years. And I noticed in discussions, the female students, they held back. They were very shy. And this was because they weren't confident of what they really wanted. They had a social role and they didn't find their professional role. And I love coaching young women because I think even communication is so important to be part of the process, not just listening, but really acting. And this was a long, long way with my female students to say, it's time to shine and don't be shy and don't wait for this one brilliant, outstanding idea. Just be a part of this fabric, that this intellectual fabric that is woven in a seminar. And so I think what I would recommend to young women is really to find out, what do you really love? And you may defy social expectations and never stop learning, because excellence is so important. And nourish your growth mindset. I saw many women who were satisfied with what they had achieved, but I think there are no limits. Nothing is off limits for you. And this idea I would like to implement in young women.
Okay, thank you. I have here very important comments, I think, from one of our professors of Touro College, the professor of psychology, Ozan Uda. She comments, it's very problematic to reduce female skills to the soft skills. Research shows that women are just as capable for the hard skills. And I think it's very important comment. Unfortunately, our format of our event today does not allow the direct comments and collaboration. So that's why I'm reading this. And also ask, who were your role models? This is your question to the panelists. Did you have female role models? How important are female role models for the female entrepreneurs?
I think this is, you can't value role models high enough, because if the world suggests that only top position can held by men and only men are capable therefore to hold those positions, this is highly disencouraging. It is the same like you show people that that special cultural groups can't hold any position that is guarded as or perceived as valuable in society, then this will be reproduced. And I think it's very important, especially for the media, to more talk about the successful women and not to be afraid of like exposing yourself and talking to others about it.
It's absolutely important. I can really confirm this. And for me, for instance, my role model was my mother. And back in the days in Russia, it was absolutely normal and common that all women worked. And my mother, like my father, they both are scientists and researcher in the field of chemistry and physics. And when I was a young girl, I experienced that the father and mother closed the door in the kitchen in the late evenings and exercise their speeches by the conferences, they write their articles. And for me, it was very inspiring. Yeah, and maybe that's why I end up in the university after 20 years in banking, because this is what I saw and I like, and it was great for me. So we have a next question from our student from Chris Devon, and I think this is a very interesting question. What is the top way men can help promote female empowerment in the workplace? How the men can support the women to show their skills and promote their career?
I think mentoring programs are really important. That that you have one-on-one mentoring programs in order to support women, and also to be accepted. There is still issues in companies when it is about who takes care of kids, things that actually non-spoken. The women are referred to the caretaker, and their male counterparts are not, so that there is this acceptance of difference and the mentoring.
Okay. A question again from our participants to all of our panelists. When would a woman know that she can step up to the challenge goal she set for herself if there is negative self-talk, as Dr. Eishil has mentioned? So meaning in a negative environment, how the women can step up and take the challenge.
I think you really have to work it out, and you have to dig deep and really find the sources of self-doubt and negative beliefs. You can't beat it if you don't analyze it. And maybe you need professional help. There's nothing weird about it, just to get a strong self-consciousness.
And I think also very important is the readiness factor, because very often if you just have a job description, it says we need 99% of this job description being fulfilled. Male counterparts say, I'm ready, I have the 99, but in truth, they're at 60 to 70. Women very often have 100% readiness for the same job description. They say, I don't feel ready. So very often, either you push them into the job and say, go on, swim, you're perfect. I know it's this pure a pat on the shoulder and says, I believe in you, and then it's good. Or you say, okay, I feel 30% ready, go. You and jump in, and because probably you're 99% ready, and the rest is a matter of self-confidence. So this doubt problem is inherent, I think, with a lot of people, but especially with females. And so we always, regardless how good we are, Lana, you are top notch of your league, and you still probably have an imposter syndrome that when somebody says, that's not good, you tend to believe it and say, what? I know I'm good, but if you say I'm not good, okay. But that's, I don't know why we have it, but it just is something we have to overcome, and we have to learn to live with this uncertainty of good or not good enough. Just do it.
Yeah, right. And the believing in yourself still, even if somebody say it's not good enough, try to be better, try to take this serious, what like example my clients say, or my from the PR team say. So I try to think about it, and try to be maybe better. But if you feel it goes in the wrong excuse me, it goes in the wrong way, it's not not what you feel, so then just let it take from you away. I think it's good. It's don't hurt yourself. Like, how can I say, if it's
and talking again about female networks, I think in this occasion it's so important to have female supporters and to share these experiences and to discuss them without any fear. I think objective evaluation and constructive criticism is so helpful, and not to depend on what others say, but to discuss this and to put it in a context.
Yeah.
So to summarize it, to be self-confident and persistent also is a very important skill in the way to the success. I have a next question, a very interesting one from our student, Brenna O'Brien. She asked all the panelists to come back to your experience, to your lives, and she asked which decisions you made or which event happened to you was the event or the decision which brought you to the success, what influenced your future.
So for me, it was my passion for dresses, when I got the passion for dresses at Zegposen, definitely.
So, and it still is. So you design the wedding dresses, you design evening dresses. And what I like about Lana is the pure femininity. So I can find in your models. I like it so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I learned a lot during my study. I was 2 times in New York, first as an intern, design intern, and then as a trainee. And I worked directly with the first assistant of Zegposen. I'm still in contact with him, and he's still my biggest, my mentor. Right. And yeah, since I was there the first time, I knew I want to do dresses. I have the feeling, the passion, and yeah, and this love for dresses, I think it makes for me my success. And I love women, so I have, yeah, for women, like yeah, to make nice dresses for women.
This I can confirm. I also have a couple of your dresses and I feel so gorgeous in it. So thank you for that. Good. Nicole, what was a decision or, event which influenced you?
Well, the thing is that I'm a very curious nature, and when I studied a mixture of interior architecture, industrial design, and art. And I just figured out that this is an endless playground of opportunities, and I can like wander into every room there is possible, and there is no restriction, because that field was so open and hasn't really been defined. And so I could just virtually do everything. But but where I really grew was when I took on challenges that were far too big, and where I just threw myself into the deep end and said, sure, who knows better? And then just went in there and really struggled hard. And I was crying and I was just desperate about stuff. Why have I done this again? And then, because it was never easy, but I learned so much, and I got such a nerve costume. And I think that is something that makes really entrepreneurship, is also stubbornness. So you just go through it, and even if everybody tells you it's not possible, you just do it anyway. And then you're just try out and do things differently, and then you find your path. Especially in our world, there is nothing predefined anymore. Everything is doable. If you find your passion, like Lana did, she found her passion. And if you really know what your heart is beating for, then you find your way. There's no doubt about it, because you're pursuing and you're on it, at it all the time. But I think the most problem nowadays, and what I see with young generations, is it's the ubiquity of things. There are so many things to do, and there is social media, and it's so easy just to let you drop into the social media omnipresent everything, and not being in touch with yourself and finding out what you really want. It is always, I could do this and that and this and that, and I'm a bit good at this and a bit good at that. But in the end, you have to find something, and you really have to push it through and have to stay on it. I mean, Christina, you know that better than myself. You have to do it for 10,000 hours to become an expert in your field. 10,000 hours, that's a long time. And you really have to stay at it. And it's not computer games. So, or social media. I mean, if you do that solemnly, you can be an expert in social media. But if you just do social media and games and this and that and that, you'll be expert of nothing. And then you don't find your passion. And that's the problem.
Okay, this is very interesting, because I remember you told 20 years ago, when you started your company, it was just 4 people, 1 room, 1 table, and 1 phone. At that time, no social media. Now you are a queen of social media. But at that time, and then it was just your passion in the room and your idea how to push the business, and you succeed. So it's amazing. It's amazing. Christina, what about you? What influenced you the most?
To be honest, I knew I'm going to be a writer when I was about 7 or 8 years old. In fact, I wrote my first little story in this age. But at first, I just was curious. I wanted to learn, to make experiences. And so I had a long time, 15 years working for television stations and doing documentaries, for example, about Neil Postman, the philosopher, Vivian Westwood. This was amazing, and I did a lot of music documentaries. And then I felt I have to go back to the university, but another break, when there was an opportunity to be a co-founder of Cicero, the German political magazine. So this is really a patchwork biography, and I always followed my needs, I followed my wishes. But since 10 years, now I'm in my beginning 60s, and since 10 years, I really know I want to focus on writing. But the summary of everything I did before was very important. I think you can't start writing if you don't have any experience, knowledge, that's for sure. And so I'm very happy to be in this phase of my life where I can gather everything, use everything I ever experienced and learned. But the wish to write was absolutely early.
Do you already have an idea for your next book? May I ask you?
Yeah, I'm happy for this question because after the great success of Beethoven, I decided to write a book about a woman, about Clara Schumann. She was the wife of great composer Robert Schumann. She herself was a composer. She had many, many children, about 7 children, I guess, and but she was a very famous musician. She played the piano and she composed herself. And I think we should start writing stories about successful women. And even if they failed a bit, it doesn't matter because history was written by men mainly until now, and I'm very happy to begin with a real interesting and touching female biography.
I would agree with you. I think it was her on the old 20 Deutschmark banknote in the past. So her portrait was on the 20 Deutschmark banknote.
Yeah, it's. I think it's not so much about saying other portraits are not right, but my method really to go into the historical sources gives another view on a personality. And to me, it's important to find out psychological aspects and emotional aspects related to the music, so we can really identify and go into a personality and ask ourselves what's different today and what were the struggles she had and what we can do for us today.
Right. Thank you. So we have not so much time left, but many questions, and I will mention some of them. And we have a question, and we all have also the feedback from our students. Siana Portnoy, she is writing. It was mentioned that finding confidence in yourself and overcome self-criticism is very important when achieving success. Could you give any suggestions from personal experience how a young woman can overcome these self-doubts in a world dominated by men? So your personal experiences.
Do you speak with me now? I think one point in this subject is mansplaining. That means, you know, you all know this term, to be confident in an environment that's dominated by males. And I think don't conform yourself to a man's idea of what leader should look like. Keep cool, stay matter of fact and rational, and don't let inferior feelings overwhelm you. According to my opinion, women often take things very personal and emotional, but this has to be worked out in private. But in the job and in business, you have to stay with the subjects and being very rational.
Okay, more objective view on yourself. So Lana, Nicole, your personal experience, how to overcome this problem?
Well, what I found very helpful was coaching. Because it just is, this leadership thing is so dramatically changing, and we all still have very old traditional male roles in our heads, and they're not, it's very difficult to mimic male leadership behavior, because that means you're like a penguin in a tree. It feels wrong. And in order to develop your own leadership style, it is very helpful to have coaches, and you can do trainings for conflict management. You can kind of confidence training, you can camera training, you can just get training for everything, and every little bit helps. And what I already teach my 3 daughters is do that early in your life, because I came to parts where I think, oh, this is not working anymore, I need help. And then I got the help in, and all my problems dissolved instantly. But then I was already 40, 45. It was like already in a mature stage in my career where I just then said I need help and training. And so that's why my kids, they're really young and they're already do like rhetoric trainings because they love to educate themselves. And I think it's good. If you have those tools early in your life, then you get much better use out of it. Lana, what's your approach?
Yeah, I can say also don't take to try to be cool. Try to don't take it to so personality, too emotional. But at me, I had also bad experience in the fashion industry. It's a hard branch. I can tell it's very, very hard to get to get a good job in the fashion industry. And I think what Dr. Eishil said, stay cool. And for me, it was important to get good friends, my family. They always took me and talked with me. They was my coaches. They give me the strongness to stay strong. But the love for the fashion design, it was bigger than all the problems I had on all the big hurdle. I don't know the word in English. So they helped me to go through it.
From my side, maybe I allow me a comment on it. I would like to say that if you are pretty and if you are smart and if you have energy, be ready that people, not only male, also female, will be jealous. And that's why you can face the opposition on maybe the negative reaction of your suggestions or your speeches or what you are doing. So try to create your own support and try to create your own network. And now I have a next question regarding the network. Eishil Neven, Berlin. Now this is the person, a participant from the diplomatic circle, writing that it's a diplomatic family. And being in a diplomatic family, you move every 2 or every 4 years, and you arrive to the new place. You have create your network, your supporters, the friends over and over again. And I can understand how difficult it is because my family were in international business. We moved 10 times during 14 years with 2 small kids, changing school, changing job for me, changing everything. So it's very difficult to adapt. And Eishil asked us which network in Berlin can we recommend. So I would immediately recommend Diplomatic Global Common in Berlin. It's specially designed for the newcomers to Berlin and Germany, and it's supported by the German Ministry of the Foreign Affairs. But Lana, Nicole, Christina, what could you recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend the Vizo ladies. This is a Jewish community. Okay. Very nice, a lovely woman.
Okay, great.
I would recommend to say that friendship grows where similar interests come together. So just look for people who share with you your passions, like music or sports or arts, whatever. And then you'll find the right people to join.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Nicole, what would you recommend to Eishil? Network.
With the networks, I mean, female networks is, which is a German network, is the Panda network.
Mm-hmm.
And
Panda for Business.
Panda for Business, which is really good. But also what I really think is nowadays it's so easy to find digital companions and networks, but I'm still a huge fan of physical meetings, and Panda has both. They have regional groups where you can go to and meet loads and loads of like-minded people, and that it really gives you the warmth and power that you need to be out there.
Mm-hmm. And it's also where you mentioned digital networks. If you Google expatriates in Berlin, there are different groups of expatriates. They meet frequently, and depending on which language do you feel comfortable, you can find a suitable network for you. And now I would like to ask our last question for tonight. The question from a participant, which is anonymous, but I think it's an interesting question. I'm very new in Berlin. I understand that 3 panelists are from different directions, but still want to ask, which kind of business in Berlin market is trendy and not risky? Trendy business in Berlin and which is not risky, what would you recommend?
I would recommend fashion because it's risky, but if you go step by step and slowly, and that in this time Corona, so you can build your own online shop. You don't need to invest that much money, like for example in own shops and in own stores, and it's a bit more the digital world open us designers of fashion brands different doors. So it's still, yeah, it's I think it's fine. And it's this Berlin's, it's trendy still, and of course, yeah.
So write us if you feel like to be involved in fashion, and we will friendly connect you with Lana as maybe role model and maybe mentor potentially. Why not? What else could you recommend in Berlin? Berlin is in Europe, including UK, the 2nd largest hub for the startups. London is the #1, but followed by Berlin. So, any ideas about the business?
Of course, market. The one mentioned market. Market, you mean venture or business?
I think here in this question, the Berlin market was meaning like which business in Berlin is good and not so risky. What works in Berlin for the person who is new in Berlin?
Well, that's a difficult question because it really depends on what kind of character you are. I mean, if I'm a purely number-driven person, going into fashion, being a fashion designer might not be the right advice. If I'm a very, very creative person, maybe a bank isn't a good advice here. I mean, Berlin is so open-minded and so integrative as a city, and there are so many different groups of interests. Just go into the internet and do a little bit of research. And Anna, as you mentioned, the startup scene here is absolutely fantastic. There are so many incubators. And if you like to deep dive into everything like food, there is an incubator for everything around food. There's an incubator about deep tech. There's an incubator about smart technology for buildings. There's an incubator for medicine technology. So whatever tickles your fancy, you have incubators. You've got a startup scene here in Berlin. So yeah, it's a big
and they
playground.
do a lot of events which are open for the public, so it's possible to pass by, to listen, to get connections, and to understand what someone likes to do.
Yeah, what's concerning my business, I can't give any hint because writing knows no borders. You can write anywhere in the world, and you can be online. Excuse me?
I think I thought writing is a talent, yeah, and it has no borders, right?
Yeah, and you can do it anywhere, but if you would love to write, do a blog from Berlin, I think this would be interesting all over the world.
This is a great idea. So now I would like to thank our panelists for this discussion today, for your time and for your very valuable advices and sharing your experiences. I would like to thank our participants for your attention. If you still have questions, please write them down and be sure that we will channel these questions to our panelists, and Touro College Berlin definitely will set up a new discussion soon. Thank you so much and take care.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you for hosting this wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.